global warming is a rising problem around the world. Global warming is an unnatural increase of temperature in our atmosphere. It is when greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane let heat reach but not escape the atmosphere. Some people may try to deny it, but we are definitely causing it.
Previous ice age was quite a long time ago. And while people envision a world full of ice and snow, it's really only about 5 degrees Celsius colder than it is right now. And the problem is that within the past 100 years, we have risen the temperature of the world by about 1 degree Celsius, which is a much faster rate of temperature increase.
Alright, so what's your view on the whole global warming thing?
So, I mean, my view is basically, I think that, I don't know if you're familiar with this Intergovernmental on Climate Change, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, but I think that represents pretty much a consensus view of the scientific community, and I think the evidence at this point that that carbon dioxide is accumulating in the atmosphere as a result of fossil fuel burning and land use change, that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are causing the Earth to warm, that warming has been observed and inconsistent with theory, and that, to me, the basic science of climate change is at least as well established as, say, plate tectonics or something like that.
Right. Alright, so you definitely think that humans are contributing to the problem?
Yes, I would say that there's some, tiny little possibility that most of the variation of the last century has been natural variability, but that, I think, is a vanishingly small possibility.
Right.
So it's not 100% impossible, but it's extremely unlikely.
Okay. So what do you think we can do in order to help solve this problem?
Well, most of the carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases that we're releasing come from our energy system. Something like 85% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from our energy and transportation systems, and something like 15 or 20% comes from land use change, to mostly deforestation. And so I think the single most important thing to do is to rebuild our energy system in a way that does not rely on using the atmosphere as a waste dump.
Right. So when do you think we would be able to do this by, if it's possible?
Well, with a lot of these things, it's a question of, how much are you willing to pay for it?
Right.
That, we have, and also how much inconvenience are you willing to have? And so, right now we have wind turbines and solar photovoltaics and nuclear power, hydroelectric power, biomass, and so on. Of those, biomass has its own problems because you have to have a lot of land for biomass, and so solar is very good, except that it's intermittent, and it's also very expensive. Solar power typically costs something like 10 times as much as coal. Even nuclear power is something like twice as expensive as coal. The wind power, depending on where you are, some places can compete with the cheapest energy sources, but that's not true in most of the world. And also, both wind and solar power are intermittent, so it doesn't blow all the time, and the sun doesn't shine all the time, and we don't have really good batteries or anything. And so I think from a technical point of view, if we said, okay, we're not going to make any more devices that dump carbon dioxide waste into the atmosphere, if we really wanted to, we could start doing that tomorrow.
Right.
But I don't think we really will have. So I think it's more a question of political will. But I think the cheaper it is, the easier it is to develop political will. And so I think now it's hard to develop political will because it's asking people to spend a lot of money.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
This graph shows the trend of CO2 levels over time. The spike on the far right is created by the industrial boom that occurred in the 1900s. Because CO2 levels are rising so fast, it's easy to see why the graph shows a spike in temperature. This is startling because we have never had a rise in temperature this fast.
Peter Ferreira says that climate
change itself is already in the process of its natural cycle, and that the use of fossil fuels is not the cause of the warming of the Earth. And that is because natural cycles have already turned from warming to cooling. Global temperatures have already declined for more than 10 years, and global temperatures will continue to decline for another 2 more decades. Peter Ferreira is wrong because that the sign of the Earth that is warming is through the records of thermometers kept over the past century and a half. Around the world, the Earth's average temperature has increased about 1 degrees Fahrenheit and 0.8 degrees Celsius over the last century, and about twice in parts of the Arctic.
Global warming is not the hoax that some scientists like to say it is. There are several factors that prove this theory wrong. First, our CO2 levels have risen since the 1900s, and this is a major greenhouse gas. Along with this, temperatures have risen more rapidly than ever before. This all explains how we are having problems that are not caused by natural climate.